Oh, it's so hot today. Oh my God.
Get me started. Yep, I think we're good.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
All right, I think we're good.
Hi, friends. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Happy fun day. Hope everybody's doing great. Welcome to our beautiful, beautiful Sunday morning service here at BSH, and hope everybody's also ready for the World Cup later on. Argentina versus Spain is going to be a great, great, awesome game. But it's great to also feed our souls before we feed ourselves later on in that fraternal moment. So before we get started, we're going to start with a prayer. I believe Miss Tanya will do our prayer this morning. So let us get started. It's all yours, Miss Tanya.
Thank you, everybody. Happy Sunday. It's a pleasure, as always, being here with all of you in this current of love, of light, of joy, and of life. It is so important for us to recognize the divinity within all of us together in this beautiful service, as united with one another, embracing our hearts in harmony. We ask you, Lord Jesus Christ, to bless us, to guide us, to surround us with the benefactors, with these divine workers of eternal life, to surround this service tonight. And so everyone who are here today and who will be part of it in the future, listen it through YouTube, may they everyone receive the blessings they are in need for spiritual evolution, spiritual guidance, for spiritual healing, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. We truly accept, Lord Jesus, all your divine knowledge through the divine service of our dear sister Kiki that prepared a teaching from Emmanuel from the book Our Daily Life today, and may this lesson come to soothe our soul, bring comfort, bring harmony, bring hope, bring faith. And with so much gratitude and love, Lord Jesus Christ, and the mentors of this spiritual community, we open our service today. And so be it, and so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, dear sister. Beautiful, beautiful. So, before we get started, let us just introduce the center. We are a non denominational spiritist center. We respect all religions and spiritual traditions. So, please, you are welcome to bring in your thoughts and questions. All right. So, BSH is a member of the United States Spiritist Federation, and our spiritual beliefs are based around scientific, philosophical, and religious principles of Spiritism. As Emmanuel, right, the spirit mentor of Chico, taught us, knowledge and love are the wings of our spiritual evolution. That's the reason why the services are divided into two parts. So the first part, we always have someone speaking. And today we have our dear sister Kiki. And then the second part, we are going to have the prayer. So please, it is important, friends, that you participate since your mentor is already supporting you and your needs while hearing the insights from our dear speaker today, Kiki. Carrying and working these reflections along the week is what will really sustain the energy we are receiving today, all right? So let's go ahead, and I know dear sister Kiki is going to share with us the website so we can go over some of the services that are amazing that are provided weekly. All right. So first thing, Sunday, we are here. So it's online. It is our Sunday service. It's the educational presentation. We have the healing passes in the second part. Every day at 6 p.m. Pacific time, right? There are daily prayers. It is about a 15 to 20 minute time to come together and emanate positive thoughts. On Wednesdays from 4 to 7, there is fraternal counseling. It is by appointment, friends. So check that in with some of our members here. There is the book study groups that begin throughout the week. So there's one today on Sunday, Liberation. Then on Tuesdays, there is members of the suicide, and it is with the Divine Light Spiritist group. It's a beautiful book, right? There's a lot in there. Wednesdays, there's a book, Paul and Stephen, another amazing books. And on Thursdays, Jesus in the Home. And all of these are again 6:30 Pacific time. On Mondays, it is a mediumship meeting just for members by invite only. So, but it is beautiful. But if you do have prayers, you do send them in to BSH, and those prayers will be placed for all of us on those beautiful mediumship meetings. Okay, so today we are going to have dear sister Kiki say a beautiful talk. It's from our book, Our Daily Bread, chapter 12, and she's entitled it, Have You Thought About This? So definitely have your notes. And dear sister, thank you so much. It's all yours.
Thank you, sister. Let me just pull up my presentation here. Can you all see Miss Light? Yes? Good.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So this is chapter 12 on the book Our Daily Bread. We've been studying this book and basically every week. And um, I thought this topic was so interesting. It got me intrigued. Like, have you thought about this? Because usually when someone says something like that, usually it brings me the perception or the sensation that usually it's something that I oversee. Like we are just overseeing something that might be kind of trivial, but we do not tune in to the right perspective. And this is exactly what Emmanuel is bringing to us into in during this chapter. If we have thought about this, and what is this that he says? So it all starts with a statement from Peter saying, knowing that I must soon leave my tabernacle behind, according to what our Lord Jesus Christ has revealed to me. And I had to look for what tabernacle means. And then from a biblical point of view, it means a fixed or a movable habitation. So typically a light construction, but definitely something that can be temporarily or not. And then from the overall dictionary, it means a meeting place for worship used by some Protestants or later day the Saints or the Mormons. But the most important thing is that Peter tells us that he will leave that cocoon, I would say, behind, because that is not where he is. And that is the provocation that Emmanuel is bringing to us, because this chapter is going to be shifting the perspective from I have a spirit to I am a spirit temporarily using a body. And although that might be very simple and trivial for those who are studying spiritism for a while, I think that the provocation here again is, what are the aspects of these that we usually overlook? There are things that we just bypass because, like, we are not thinking so much about that. We know, of course, that we are spirits and this is just temporary, but like, what does it mean? What are the implications of all of that? Um, and this is what Emmanuel is telling to us. Like, what are the reasons and the inclinations, and why all of that. And I wanted to start with something from the Spirit's book, because knowing that this body is temporary, that means that we have many bodies along our lives, right? And we know that everybody is an instrument. But like, what are we using this instrument for? What am I using that? So is my body being an instrument of what? To serve what? To serve whom? Or who, how am I caring for this instrument? And what are the possibilities of this instrument? So Emmanuel brings to us that perspective that our body is not like, this is where we are dwelling now, but this is not a prison. Um, our body is definitely not an enemy. It's not our identity. It's not even who we are. It's just an instrument, but it's a sacred one. And when we look at the perspective that this is a temporary instrument, it reminds me of the purpose of incarnation, because that is what is behind this so many different bodies that we serve, that we are served. But when we go to the Spirit's book on question 132, the question is, what is the purpose of incarnation? And then the answer from the spirits on high is that God imposes incarnation so then spirits may attain perfection. So again, this is an instrument not only for ourselves, but also to awake some capabilities that we have inside, so then we can use everything, every aspect of what this physical existence is allowing us. Important. It's not a punishment. It is it is an education, it's the classroom, it's our possibility to use better each day. It's the possibility that we have for us to unlock powerful aspects of our body that will enable our spirit to perfect. So, at the end of the day, the way that our body is set is to enable us to be today better than what we were yesterday. Basically, we are looking for be more knowledgeable about our capabilities, and most of us using those capabilities for something. So that provocation starts, so the book starts with an interesting provocation. It says, the human body is a conglomeration of agglutinated cells or earthly fluids that have gathered together according to planetary laws, offering the spirit the holy opportunity to learn, value, reform, and dignify life. Which means basically this is a miracle, right? Like, we are able to use the fluids on this planet that we are right now, meaning that we can get the fluids from other planets if we are to live in another planet. So we might embody a different body, a different clothing per se for our spirit, depending on where we are. But sometimes we take that for granted. We just forget that itself is a miracle, because then, like, we complain about our body, like, it ages, or it gets sick, or it becomes tired, or we don't have like a sharp mind as we wanted to. And then we just forget that this is a sacred place. It's a miracle that God gives to us. Well, it's not a miracle per se, but um, it's just divine. It's extraordinary to think that we are able to live and to learn through all of this. At the book Evolution into Words, André Luiz explains to us that the human body is the result of millions of years of divine evolutionary work. And we know, like, that the history of our planet, and we know that it took a long time for our bodies to be where we are, and for us to be able to unlock so many things, and God knows who else we are going to unlock. But I think that what André Luiz is telling us is that every organ And every cell, every movement, every heartbeat is the product of God helping us, God coping with us, so then we can achieve our goals. And that is the piece of the sacred that I think that Emmanuel is trying to bring to us. How sacred it all is, and how important that we look at this body with that holy perspective in mind. We can see, we can smell, we can speak and hear and feel and think. All of those are parts of a very important instrument that is extremely sophisticated. It's extremely divine. And then sometimes we use all of that to just feed our pride, which is a spiritual need. But then, of course, that our body is going somehow to reflect all of that. Because right now, for this moment, we are one. Resentment, selfishness, indifference, and then all of that manifests somehow in our body, in our actions, in our environment. How powerful our mind is, and how are we using that power? Knowing that our body is a manifestation of our mind, is a manifestation of our needs. How are we looking at that? That is a very interesting point of view that Emmanuel brings to us. Because instead of looking at our body and our life with lens of, well, I'll give you my example. I am, I always wanted to be a mom since I was 15 years old. And now that I'm 42, I was blessed with one daughter and I really would like to have more. But then my body is 42 years old now, and like, what am I going to do? I once have a friend that she told me something that made me, um, she helped me to change the perspective. I was like, you know what? No one. It's really, really, really rare to see people. Well, not anymore. Like I'm talking about a couple of years ago, but I used to say it's not easy for people to get pregnant after 36, 37 years old. It's just hard. The body is not ready for that. And she said, if there is no history, you go there and then you write one. I'm like, you go and you write history. What makes you think that you can't do that? And I'm like, that's interesting, right? Because right now that I'm still hoping that I can bear another kid, of course that is between God, of course. But if I deserve to have that, God will find a body and a mind that is totally ready for that. So it's not going to be my mind who will be the obstacles for that to happen. And I think that that's interesting because that just empowers us that, one, we can do whatever we want if we put our minds to work on that. And then two, faith moves mountains. We know that. Jesus told that to us. So how are we using that belief to propel us forward? So let's go back just a little bit and digest all of that we saw, because Emmanuel can be pretty intense. So he's reminding us that we are spirit in a temporary body. He's reminding us that our body is completely sacred, and that is meant for us to evolve. And then André Luiz comes to us and say, this is not only meant for you to evolve, but it's also meant for you to worship, for you to care, and above all, for you to use. in all capacity that we can. So that brings us again the perspective of what is the capacity that I have within the body that I'm using right now. In the book, they continue like indolent or wicked workers, human beings frequently input to this useful instrument the evil qualities with which they are assailed. However, the body is a concession of the divine mercy, so that the soul may prepare itself for its glorious future. Um, in Portuguese, there is a saying that I will try to bring that to English, but we say that an old pen is what makes a good food. But it's very common for us to say, ah, oh, this pen is old, it's not working anymore. Or, like, oh, we need something new. And this is just reminding us that that's not necessarily true. The body is a tool for our soul. The body will reflect what the soul needs and which lessons we need to use using the body that we have. So let's say that if I have, I don't know, a pain in my foot, in one of my foot, and that makes me have to walk slower than I would like to. Maybe that's life just telling me that I have to slow down a little bit. And I just overlook that because I'm always trying to run. Or my example, I'm willing to have kids, but it's not that easy. Does that mean that I'm still learning how to love and care for everyone, regardless if they come from me or not? So I think that the perspective that Emmanuel was bringing to us is for us to understand that our body is not the villain, not the hero. It's the mean, it's the instrument. And the villain or the hero is inside our mind. It's inside our thoughts. It's inside of the perspective that we look into our bodies. I remember on the book, in the way of the world of regeneration, from Divaldo Franco, with Professor Umberto, I forgot his name, I'm so sorry. But in that book, he tells us that what will turn planet Earth into a world of regeneration is not that this world will not have sufferings anymore, but the minds will be better prepared to go through what they have to go through. So, see, that's a shift in the mind, not in the body. So, that doesn't mean that we are not going to have illnesses anymore. That just means that our mind, our hearts will be better prepared to deal with all of that. And therefore, the suffering is not going to be so painful anymore because we are regenerating. We are better understanding what this body is for, what this life is for. The miracles that Jesus performed just by touching or doing something with someone healed people. But he was more focused on the transformation that would bring, not only for the individual that was healed, but also for all of those who were watching, to believe that that is possible. That is possible. And when Jesus brings to us everything that he used for us to heal ourselves, that is freedom. Because Jesus is teaching us that the true diseases that we carry, the true limitations that our body carry are pride, hatred, envy, fear, guilty, vanity, whatever. And St. Francis of Assisi also understood that when he decided to start working for the lepers. What else can my body have that my soul doesn't? What else can my body have that my soul does not have it? So let me just try and support and heal. I will manifest whatever I will have to. That is a cleansing of the soul. That is a cleansing. That is using the body for the purpose of what it's there for. His purpose was that. So if we have a health conscience every single day, every single day we wake up with the ability to decide, friends, we have conscience of who we are, what to say, who to call, what to read, where to go, who to feed, who to hug, who to listen. Look at how many things that our body can do, how powerful these can be. And then sometimes we focus on the limitations, we focus on the things that we wish were different instead of using what is capable of. One thing we cannot forget is that we planned this incarnation. We planned all this. And I don't want to say that in a sense of you got what you wanted. I know that you remember, but that's what you got. That's not that. Before our reincarnation, many spirits, and we know that from the book Missionaries of the Light, amazing book. André Luiz explained to us in a very detailed way how the incarnation works and how that is all organized, how many spirits are working with us, so then we can have exactly all we need for us to succeed. All of our families, the circumstances in which we are born, the trials, the talents, the lack of talents, the physical limitations, the powerful thinking, and then how we are going to use all of that in favor or not is again how we will decide to put all this life as the villain or the hero. So when we go through, well, we know that, like when we go through a difficult relationship, what that means to us, a demanding child, a newness that comes out of nowhere, a disappointment with someone that was very dear to all of us, um, all of that. Remember, the world of regeneration is not a world without suffering, without evolution, but it's the mind that is better prepared for that. It's the acceptance of the body, it's the acceptance of its acceptance of life. However, look how beautiful it is. It's not acceptance in the flattening. It's not a how can I say that? It's not an acceptance knowing that we cannot do anything. Like, oh, I accept that's my fate. That's okay. I will just go with life. No. That is bringing us the motion, the need for action. That is not the fate. That is the moment. What are we going to do with that? That is not the fate. That is the instrument. Where are we going to go from here? Do we want to ride A new story that no one had ever seen? Are we going to be the miracles of God into whatever situation we are? Or are we going to be just one more statistic of whatever it's in there? I'm not saying that I'm, like I'm, well, I do want to say that I am a bless, because when all the doctors told me that I could not bear a child, that I could not conceive a child, I did. I was like, they said, you have, you don't have enough eggs, not even for us to do IVF. And then I was like, how many eggs do I need? Isn't it one? And they said, yeah, but like there is a funnel. Like, I don't care. If I need one, it's one. It's between me and God. And there you go. God sent me the golden egg. What were the odds? Less than zero. They told me 0.3% of chance. And then, like, shouldn't I look at this and say, this is a miracle? Yes, it is. I was 37 years old. I can do it. Everybody can. And I'm not saying because I am, I do want to recognize that it was a bless, but it's not because I'm special. Anyone can do that. And that is the invitation for us today. That is the invitation for us to look at our trials as propelling to something. If something is out of our control, do we want to sit and cry? Do we want to use that to something? I think that's the inclination. That's the piece that sometimes we overlook. That is what he's saying. Have you thought about this? Have you really, really thought about this? Although it looks like very basic, have you really thought about all of that? We just take for granted. We don't stop and reflect. On the book, Emmanuel continues. Have you ever thought about the fact that you are an immortal spirit which is on the earth for a while and has at its disposal invaluable energies granted by God for the requirements of your endeavor? Such energies shape your body. And look, it's not only our body, it's everything. Peter called his body as a tabernacle, a temporary tent. So again, that reminds us that we borrowed something so precious from God. And then when we borrow something from someone we love, what do? We take care, right? Like if I get, I don't know, a scarf from Gina, I don't want to give it back all tore or anything. Bolota cannot get it. I have to be very watchful for that. I want to care for it. I want to wash. I want to make sure that it's in appropriate place. So then when I give it back with gratitude, she will find it, if not the same way, better than what it is. So what are we doing with our body, with our mind? How are we returning back our body? And when I say that, brothers, I'm not saying necessarily physically, because there's just so much that we can do for our physical. Should we take care of what we eat? Absolutely. I think it was on Missionaries of the Light, or uh, I forgot. Today, well, I didn't sleep too well, so my brain's not working properly, but thank you. um, there is another book that tells us a little bit about our what happens to our spirit, and I always remember a passage that says, you know, the mother had died. It was a family, mother, dad, two children. The mother had died, and then the dad was working too much. He was just working after hours, so then he could deal with everything. And he was working up until 2, 3 a.m. So then he could wake up and take care of the child. So he was just, like overtired. And his mom, who had already passed, she was on the spiritual realm. She knew that her son would have a stroke and he would die. leaving the two children. And then that mother went and asked for God to allow him to live a little bit more. And they said, he's not understanding what he's doing, but that is an unintended suicide. He's not taking care of his body. He knows he needs to sleep. He knows he needs to eat. And yet he's not doing that with the excuse that he needs to take care of his daughters, but he's not taking care of himself. How powerful is that? Joanna de Angelis tells us that it's important that we stop. So again, it's taking care of the body and also taking care um, morally. What are we doing with our eyes? Like what are we watching? What are we contemplating? Do we really know how to understand beauty? Do we look at nature and understand what this all means? Like, what is our mouth speaking? Are we encouraging people? Are we gossiping? Or are we judging everyone every time? Like, what our hands have been creating? Are we doing services or are we doing indifference? Are we just like on Instagram, whatever it is? Where have our feet walked to? Places of peace, places of conflict. Where are we going and where are we leading people to? So that invites us to see every part, every aspect of our body as a blessed instrument. Every part, physical and mental. And I remember of a sentence said by there is this spiritist center in Brazil, and then they have an arm of charity that is kind of disconnected with spiritism, but it's very interesting because they take the charity very, very seriously. And they said something that is absolutely amazing. If I can't do everything that I must at least do everything that I can. That is beautiful. Because it's like this is exactly that. Like if I can't do everything that I should, taking care of all my brothers and sisters, because that in this lifetime, that's not, I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready to just tell my family, hey, you stay there, I'm going to take care of the people, right? Like I can't. So if I can't do that, what can I do? What is within my capacity, um within my possibilities? What can I do? If I can't do everything that I must at least do everything that I can. And that reminds me, obviously, of Chico Xavier. We know that man had so many diseases. If like if we read about him, he had heart disease and he lived with chronic pain. He slept very little because he was always working. He had all the illnesses in his eyes, but those who visited him rarely, very rarely, heard him complaining. Why? That pain was not hurting. I bet it was. But he understood that he was doing everything that he needed for the body, and then his spirit was he was morally able to filter that. Not everybody needs to hear about his pain. He doesn't have to share that with everyone. But he could share words of goodness. But instead of just like sharing that he also suffered, he would use that moment to something else, to encourage, to enlighten. He did not have a perfect body, and yet he was doing everything that he could with the body that he had, becoming an extremely, extremely useful instrument for all of us to be here studying what he enabled us to. And that is what Jesus asked for us. On the chapter 17 of the Gospel, there is a chapter, Be Perfect. Jesus is asking for us that. So it's not that it's not that God and Jesus are expecting us to wake up and say, okay, I'm awake now. I'm gonna be perfect. I'm aware. That's good. Boom. No, this is an betterment day after day. It's today to be better than what we were yesterday. And that is incarnation after incarnation, one step at a time, just one. If today we can be less prideful than what we were yesterday, that's already better. If at the end of this life we can be a little bit less impatient, that's better. If we have less vanity, or we can be more forgiven, or we can be more humble, more compassionate. Understanding that our body is the workshop for all of this. Our body, our life is the workshop for us to get there, is the workshop for us to get better. You know, we cannot practice patience without having someone asking us to be patient and them all the time. So this is about which fruits do I want my tree to give, or not only fruits. Sometimes my tree is not a fruitful one, but it can be a good shade. It can bring a good protection. It can be a good place for nests. Regardless of the type of tree we have, what are we using it for? And this is how Emmanuel finishes the chapter. What are you doing with your feet, with your hands, your eyes, and your brain? Do you know that these powers have been entrusted to you in order for you to honor the Lord through self enlightenment? Like they are, He's just poking us. I love that. Have you thought about that? Because that is exactly what is that. And then if we look back into our conscience has the answer for everything, right? At the Spirit's book, question 621, where is God's law written? In our conscience. That's what the Spirit says. In our conscience. So when Emmanuel says, have you thought about this? It's really, have you reflected on how you are using your body? Are you using that to dominate, to serve, to accumulate, to share, to criticize, to console, to seek admiration, to seek approval, to spread love? What are we using that for? Yeah. That's how I would like to finish, because that is a reflection for all of us. Emmanuel is asking us, have you thought about this? Like, really? The day that we get to go, to the other side, when we finally leave this tabernacle, will that day be dramatic? Will that day be tragic? It's going to be a simple, "Ooh, I'm done." Or will we be able to see and say, like, I had a beautiful body, whatever that was leading me to? Like, if that's what I had. Or will we be thinking how successful I was, how famous I was, how wealthy or how healthy? I think the question that we will have to ask ourselves is, did our hands help? Did our hands build? Did my mouth speak something useful? Did my ears were useful to really listen? Did my eyes recognize the future and the potential of our children? Did my voice support with comfort and encouragement? Did my mind seek truth? Did my mind seek evolution? Did I become more like God, more like Christ? Did I live the gospel? I think those are some of the questions that I think that Emmanuel wanted to bring to us, because again, sometimes we just take those for granted. And I think that that's why he starts this chapter with, have you thought about this? Because it is already so natural and it's so automatic that we do not think about that. And when we say, I hope that there is peace on earth, starting within my heart, what does that mean? What is my share of responsibility in that? So have you all thought about this?
Wow, dear sister, absolutely beautiful. Let's thank you so much for sharing that really we're learning about the science of well-being today, right? And spiritism bringing in so let's go ahead and share our thoughts. Who goes first? Or I'll pick.
I don't, I
I'll
don't,
pick.
I don't mind starting.
Yay.
Um, Usually, as per usual, there's so many thoughts that come to mind, and I want to say that Kiki, I really think that you planted good seeds in terms of the thoughts. And this is multiform in the sense that for me, you touched on so many different things, especially when you start talking about the mind and the body. Okay. And I saw as you spoke, even David and Goliath kind of things. Little David going up against big Goliath. How's that going to happen where he's going to be able to win? But you even see it. Let me start with even sports analogies, if you don't mind, with the recent New York Knicks winning the basketball thing against this giant. Right? So you can see the smallest guy, and even though it's a team effort, you see the smallest guy, and you see the tallest guy on opposite teams. And then you see the smallest team, if you will, with the behind so many points. How in the world are they going to win this? Well, that was a mind thing, right? When you talked about stubbing the toe or foot and the pain, so maybe you said maybe it's a sign to slow down. But because of what you said earlier, maybe it's a sign to use your mind to heal better and walk faster. So that made me think about spontaneous healing, where some people who are sick and all of a sudden next day they're fine, even though the doctors have written them off and all 9 yards. So we don't really travel that much, in my opinion, down what the mind can do. So that's why I'm saying you really planted some good seeds. But we think about it in and out, but I don't think we think about it that much. But that gives us a hint as to the potential, perhaps, that we have or can do. But we don't speak enough about it, don't know enough about it. But you captured my attention with that. I even thought about the people, the monks, if you will, in the Himalayas who can sit out in the snow or in the cold, and you put a wet blanket on and they'll dry the blanket up. How's that possible? You know, and obviously that's something mind body stuff again. So for me, your presentation had me all over the place, thinking about all kinds of things and all kinds of possibilities. And I can give all kinds of sports analogies and stuff. I don't want to occupy the time, but anyway, I'm thinking about a lot of stuff. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it did make you think about a lot of things and whether or not we're putting our attention on what matters, what happens in our lives. Are we really thinking about how did we get to this point? Whether it's an illness or stumping your toe, because I broke both of my baby toes, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? You know, and yeah, so if you are curious enough to want to know about life, you think about it. Just like, the other day I was saying to Valerie, we got a long ways to go in order for this entire planet to raise the vibration. Because when she was talking about Argentina and their racism, and then we talking about the wars that are happening, I said, oh my God, this isn't going to end. I'm in a hurry for us to elevate, and be done with all these craziness that we're going through. I just want us to get along. But we got a long ways to go, and God is so just. He's allowing each and every one of us to have our time, to have our realization, to have the opportunity to change, and different scenarios. So you cannot go to him and say, well, you didn't give me, you didn't, because the proof will always be in your own heart. What you had the opportunity to do, and whether or not you squandered it or you chose to go a different route, it's all going to be there in your own heart. You keep a record of your own life as well. So anyway, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
That's beautiful. There's a book by Amalia Domingo Soler, 15 Cases of Past Lives. In every case study, you definitely see how every person used their body and the consequences that it had in the afterlife. So absolutely, Miss Gina. And there is a case on that still, discrimination and the monster boy, talking about how from Europe, the Spanish colonists went into Mexico and did a lot of they used their body, their resources to make a lot of harm, in other words. And then you see how in his next reincarnation, the way that I think he's Arcadio, the way he is born and the physical ailments that he has. So I was thinking to add to that too, our bodies they're good, but they're also vessels for us to transform from our past, right? And so I really recommend that book because it really ties in with how we use our bodies and everything. Yeah.
Okay. What's the name of the book again?
It's called the 15 Cases, I think I have it, 15 Cases, Past Lives by Amalia Domingo Soler. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Next. Oh, come on.
You reminded me, my brother, he used to practice karate, the martial art in Brazil. And his practice was from a Japanese family, and the how can I say, the sensei, I don't know, the highest person in there, the one who knew all the things, he was more than 90 years old and he was still fighting. And so that was incredible. And like every time that he would come to Brazil and do something, everybody would go and watch and hear him. Even that I didn't do the practice, I would go and hear him. And I remember once he was saying, he was just explaining the importance of the body and how we use that. And I remember him saying, like, if someone comes and cut your feet off, you still have your hands. And if someone cuts both of your hands, you still have your voice. And if it takes your tongue out, you still have your ears. If it takes out, you still have your eyes. And then if it takes out, you still have your mind. So until you're dead, you just use your damn body. And that was so powerful, right? Like I always thought about that, like how each part of our body brings a different aspect and a different set of opportunities. You know what I'm saying?
And I see that if you're a mom, right? As a teacher, during the year, I don't know how in the world the body can go for hours and hours in the summer break when it's like low. It doesn't work. I was like, how do we do it? How? But again, that comes down to how you're saying, Kiki, right? Our souls need this body. These are the gifts that we have for our reincarnatory plans. So we're all built individually for what we need to do in our reincarnation. Yeah.
I always believe that the answer to whatever we're going through is here. Even illnesses, I've
What,
always
sister?
believed the cure to the illnesses is on this planet. Whether or not we're aware of it, or how, where to find it, I still to this day believe that. Whatever you're going through, there's a reason. And you have to find it. When you find it, it will resonate with you. It will just ring true to you. Ah, yeah, oh my God, that's ah, man. And then you don't have to go through it again if you accept it, change it, and keep moving. It's work. Ain't no free passes. And I'll go to my grave saying that there are no free passes. You must work here on this planet.
True. And we forgot that we are being spiritual being, not body beings, no.
Right, exactly.
And we forgot that everything manifests in the mind, in this mind of the spirit, emotional bodies. And the illness today, it is a reaction, action and reaction from the past, being past life. I'm writing a book. I don't know when it will be ready, but it is a past life regression of a suicide. And that was 1071 that I commit suicide, and I still resembling the effects of the poison in my body almost 1,000 years ago. No, I still resembling 5 reincarnation that I saw after that. What I have to go through to readjust my whole organs, my digestive system, my kidneys was very damaged, my voice, everything. So I have to be like a semi-scared and die in a very young age, have convulsions until 12 years old in other life that I died with a lot of convulsions. And still in this life, you see, in 2026, I still have some serious digestive system. So it is the consequences. When we are unconsciously, we do a lot of things wrong. And when we are conscious, and then when we make the worst mistake, because we know that we should not be doing that. Today, this is more for us when Kiki talk about the tree. No, we have to remember the tree before become a tree had this beautiful seed, and the seed resembling everything from God inside of that seed. So, but how is the soul that was fertilized? What we have been doing with the roots of these trees, and in the fruit, the fruit will be sweet or bitter, depend on our emotional life, our thoughts regarding not only our life, but regarding to other people's lives, no? Because we will be resembling everything that we express from others to ourselves and from ourselves to others. So it is always, yesterday I have a 10 years old girl say, I don't believe in God. Prove it to me. So it's sad, isn't it? So I use the seeds. And she asked you, and why men cannot have baby, be pregnant? And then I use the seeds too. I said, have you planted any seeds? Yes. What did you do? I put in dirt in a pot and putting the seed inside. I said, the utero of the mother, the only woman has utero. It is that um, incubator. I said they use that way, for her to understand in that my mentality. And I said the youth of the woman is the incubator of that seed, and then the seed will be growing. And I remember a lot Miramis in one of the books that he talked about John Nunes Maya. I love his books. It's still not in English yet. But he bring us to think a lot about the metaphysical life that we live. And she always said, everything resembling Deus, resembling God. Every tiny seeds, every tiny insect, everything is resemblance of God. So when we start to see, that what I told her, that is the only way I see God in everything, even in the ugliest creature is resembling Deus, resembling God. And then like she was abandoned for the father, so the father figure. And I said that I was 11 years old when I lost my father. So when I learned that I didn't lose father because I have my father, and I learned that I have the greatest fathers, and my father loves me. He gives me everything I want. And I'm very obedient to him. And I said to her, think about the supreme love, supreme goodness, supreme intelligence, supreme everything that is good. You imagine that is God, and he will be there for you. And in you, he's not outside, he's in you. So she cried. Do you believe she cried? So that's what we need to observe in the God within us. What we are doing with this divine energy, divine seed, the divine virtues, to bring light to the shadows that we allowed. We are responsible for that now. We allow them to come because nothing is without permission. Everything comes to our life was us to permit it. We open the mind, we allowed, we let them coming in and induce us to do it. Nobody's fault, no? Nobody like to listen to that, and it's nobody's fault, it's our fault. But Kiki, I love trees, and I thank you for bringing that, because what kind of shade, what kind of root, what kind of um, um, how do I say, the trunk, no? Is a tall, is a short, because the tree teaches us a lot about patience, discipline, no? Strength, and shareable, because the tree, it is a house for the birds, for the squirrels, for everything. The tree has a lot of virtues from God, showing us how to be good every day. I love it. I love your speech. Thanks so much. Sorry for speaking too much again.
Very good. Sister, one thing that you reminded me is that there are some spirits and some people that cannot get in harmony with where they are, even if they want. Like sometimes that, but you can't be grateful for your body because you look at whatever, like your foot, and you don't like your foot, or you wish that you were taller, or you needed like something different from where you are, and you cannot enjoy where we are. So what would we do in a situation like that? And I think that the reflection that I would like to bring to situations like that, where you are not in harmony with where you are living today, is it's okay. First of all, is stop with the guilt that, like, I'm not like that, so I don't fit. I think that the reflection that we would encourage the person to have is, it's okay. Start changing the way that you look at that. Exactly to what you said, Tanya. God is within us. And if we allow God's eyes to look at our body, and to enable God's eyes to manifest on us, start with small gratitudes, like tiny small gratitudes. So even if we don't mean it, start enabling yourself to look at yourself with, thank you, body. That's it for today. And then tomorrow, thank you, body. A little bit more. And then day by day, we will be able to transform that, because we will just clean our thinking, and we will enable to Tanya's point, enable God to see us. So it's fine if we are not there yet. It's totally fine. Let's just take the pressure out of us, in a sense of, I do have to be in harmony, otherwise I'm going, it's fine. That's why we are here for. But if we practice a little by slow every day, that's the best we can do. So just love yourself.
Beautiful, sister. Anyone else? For what a beautiful way to end this beautiful session, to love ourselves every day. Look at ourselves, and even like you said, one thing, friends. So that is the homework of the week, right? Let us work on that this week. Let us show love to ourselves in order for us to emanate the love and take care of our bodies. With that being said, thank you, dear Kiki. Beautiful message. Thank you, thank you. Love, love, loved. Yes, and now we are going to be going to the second part of our study today. So thank you, friends.